office in time. So I'm in this like weird kind of, it looks like it looks like an interrogation room in like where I'd imagine like a counterintelligence agency would use. So good vibe, good vibe. But
Well, actually, the lighting looks great. So you've got that going. It's awesome.
Okay, good. Well, thank you guys for your patience. I apologize I'm a few minutes late, but I am really, really excited to be doing this. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, no, we're so excited that you're here. We don't care, and we're like just happy and grateful that you are able to take some time to talk with all of us. And we have people here who have been in the classes for a while and some very new people who have just joined recently. So I thought we could just start with kind of giving a little bit about you and your background and just letting us know who you are, because you have a really cool background.
Yeah, so good to meet you all. I'm not sure if you guys are all songwriters, if you
a mix.
You represent, right, if you represent artists, whatever it is. So yeah, anyway, my own background, I'm a musician myself, singer-songwriter, producer, guitar player, DJ, been in a number of bands, put out a bunch of records, all that stuff. And yeah, I worked in a couple different areas of, I guess, like the music industry over the years. I worked for a concert promoter that owns a bunch of venues in Chicago called Jam Productions for a bit. I worked for a music festival for a summer. And then I got introduced to some people who work at what's called an original music company, which essentially, for those of you unfamiliar, it's, for all intents and purposes, it's a company that has a staff of composers who are commissioned to write music for a different visual medium. It's usually for ads, but they'll a lot of times, do music for video games or for trailers or for films or for TV shows and things like that. And so I was hired on to help kind of run that a little bit and to oversee some projects. And I had such a great experience over there, but I actually was able to weasel in them into letting me do some freelance composition on a number of projects.
Oh, cool.
Which was awesome. It was just like, I'd never written against picture before. I'd never done anything like that. But I was just super interested in it. So I just asked all of the composers who worked there, basically, hey, can you send over any projects that you've done in the past? Or like send over any spots, commercials that you think are cool, and just like mute them, and just like give me a chance to try writing something over them, just to kind of get me which is definitely something that I recommend for anyone who's interested in, writing to picture and things like that. It's a really unique skill set that, as just like a traditional songwriter myself, was like a really kind of amazing thing that I didn't know if I would be able to do it or to not to do it. So just like, if you don't even have access to like actual commercials, like I necessarily did, just finding different ones. And, it was like, it'd be like a Gatorade spot one day, which definitely had its own sound. And then like a Frosted Mini Wheats commercial the next day, which is very much its own kind of vibe and instrumentation and stuff. And it was just practicing and just like trying some different things out. And I loved that beyond belief. It was
amazing.
Yeah, and it was great, and I loved it.
Proactive.
Yeah, no, for sure. I wasn't quite proficient enough to do it full time, which I understood, and so that job didn't look like it was really going to turn into anything, necessarily that was going to define a career. So at that point, it was kind of like, all right, I'm not really sure what I do. I had been introduced to a bunch of different advertising agencies through Comma. So I kind of knew the basics of, who the different advertising agencies were in Chicago, and started kind of reaching out to some folks just about, kind of just general account management or production jobs in advertising agencies. And this was a number of years ago, but I remember I was watching TV one night, and there was this commercial that came on. It was an old Sprint commercial, where it was like a room full of people and they all had their smartphones out and they were all playing the song on their phones. They were like using the technology of the phone to play this song. Somebody just wrote Wilco. That's right. The song was Wilco, I'm Always in Love. And as like a Chicago kid, Wilco's like my favorite band ever. And I just remember watching this and being like, we got some Wilco fans in the house. I just remember watching that and being like, what the hell was that? Like, how did that happen? Like, how did Wilco sign on to this, you know, all these sorts of things? And then it just kind of dawned on me of like, huh, like that's somebody's job. That's somebody's job to like pick that and to sell that into a client that probably has no idea who Wilco is and has to make it convincing enough that, you know, Sprint as a major corporate client wants to invest in that. And I was like, I wonder who did that. I wonder who made that decision, who has that job. And lo and behold, it was two guys who worked at Leo Burnett, which is an advertising agency here in Chicago. Their names are Chris Clark, and I see that I see that there's a Chris Clark here.
Yeah.
Which is, what up, dude? Chris Clark and Gabe McDonough were the two guys who founded the music department at Leo Burnett. And like I had met some people at Leo Burnett through Comma. I knew who they were because they're the big agency in town. But I had no clue that they had dedicated music people on staff. So this was like a huge thing for me. So I was able to just like track them down, and basically I just like walked in and was like, I don't know how you did that, but I'm not leaving until you teach me how you did that. It's like, you don't have to pay me. I just want to know, you know, who you guys are and what you do. And so that's how I kind of landed at Leo Burnett, strangely enough. They were like, you seem cool. We definitely could use a third person. Why don't you give this a shot?
That's incredible.
Which was nuts. And it was literally just from like putting myself out there.
Yeah.
And doing a little bit of research. And, you know, one thing that I tell a lot of people who are interested in what I do in any capacity, or really kind of in any field, I always stress the importance of just like putting yourself out there, of just like, you know, whenever I've been hiring somebody, or like want to work with somebody or whatever it is, it's one thing to just like know somebody from an email or it's just like a name, but if there's ever a person that like, you know, I've seen out, like I've seen at shows or I've seen at panels and like, you know, clearly is like wanting to just like be out there and be part of the scene. I'm inherently just more interested in that person. There's more of a connection made.
Yeah.
But I think that one of the other things that I was kind of getting at with that story is like, I think one of the things that I think appealed to them in a sense was the fact that like I had a perspective, I had an opinion on something. And that opinion was nothing more than like, I think Wilco's fucking awesome. I think what you guys do is super cool. But it was definitely, I think, something that showed that I had a unique kind of standpoint. I had a unique, in some capacity, perspective. I had done some research. And I think that that's just kind of an inherently interesting thing about people if you were able to express some sort of uniqueness.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is off the bat. So that ended up working out really well. And I was over at Leo Burnett for about 5 years. Was able to get some great work with Kathy in a couple big McDonald's spots during my time there, which is how we got introduced, which was like nuts. It was like 2 spots in the span of like a month from one another that we got 2 Kathy songs in them.
Yeah, that's amazing.
This is not normal. Like, I promise, this is not normal. Like, your music is great, but like, I've never placed anybody for more than one thing, and definitely not that close together.
Yeah.
So that was just like, okay, there's something here. And so we got introduced, and we've been, you know, connecting ever since. And Sonnet, obviously, we've been chatting for a long time. And so, yeah, fast forward a few years. Everything's going great at Leo Burnett. Kicking ass. Music team has grown significantly. It's become totally embedded into the agency's process. Everything's good. I'm feeling very comfortable, very happy. And then, yeah, I got a call late last year from another agency in Chicago called DDB. Their clients include Jeep, Miller, State Farm, Capital One, Mars Wrigley, American Cancer Society, Kohler, number of clients. And they were basically like, hey, we don't have a music person here. We've been winning a ton of business lately. I've been kind of having them on my radar because I'd seen how well that they were doing. They were like, we don't have a music person, and we know that it's time to get that because we know that that's what's really going to step us up to an even greater level as an agency. And I was just really inspired by that kind of viewpoint.
Yeah.
They realized, the cultural equity that comes from having a dedicated music person on staff. And over the last few years, it's still somewhat of a rarity for an agency to have someone with music in their title on staff, but it's certainly grown more and more commonplace over the years, just because I think people are realizing that, to have somebody that knows the strategy and insights and culture of music and can articulate that, it's completely invaluable. That's what makes for the best work. That's what wins awards. That's what wins clients. That's what, wins over consumers. That's what makes a brand look cool and cutting edge and something that you want to interact with. And so I was I just thought that was great. And I was excited about the opportunity to build something from the ground up, as opposed to Leo when I came on, it had kind of already been running for about a year and a half. So it was like, let's try it. Let's do it. So at this point, I'm now the director of music for the advertising agency DDB, as well as their sister agency called We Are Unlimited. So I'm back. That's an agency that was created specifically to oversee the National McDonald's account. So I'm back on McDonald's.
That's funny.
Literally my first McDonald's project was working with you guys.
Yeah.
It was like my first week there. And there was this little holiday video that they needed the perfect song for and had no money and no time to do anything. And they came to me like, hey, you're the new guy. We have no idea if you're any good or not, but here's this impossible ask. There's no way you're going to figure this out. And got an amazing song from your guys' catalog in there. And to this day, it's the biggest win I've had at that agency, just for how much people adore that song so much.
Well, that's so nice to hear.
Yeah. It's the agency definitely held it up as this is the high watermark that we need to shoot for with everything that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be
why we brought you in.
Right. And it would be nothing without that track. So I was super happy to, right off the bat, show that agency, what's possible with music, how many artists in the world there are out there, like all of you guys, that are just waiting to, have their stuff heard. And also just the power of music and how much that does to make a film or a commercial or whatever it is that much more resonant. So literally that spot was the perfect launching off point for this agency to be like, okay, we fucking get it. Music's important. Music's going to make our work great.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing, kid. So it's all right, well.
Hit the ground running.
Exactly. But, it's all right, well, now I know without a doubt that I have trusted collaborators in you guys. So definitely excited to hear what all of you guys are up to in all of your music in hopes that something can work out.
Thank you. That's so generous of you to say. And I just want to point out how, you're saying putting yourself out there is something, and how that's worked out for you, and how you continue to do that, and how you're now, at a new agency, trailblazing. And we talk about this in class a lot, and putting yourself out there, trying new things, really being persistent and figuring out what you want and going for it. And you're such a living, breathing example of that, and so generous to be here sharing that with us. So thank you. So how have you seen that it's differed then between the two agencies? How's that going for you? The difference?
It's been awesome. It's been
Are you the only music person?
I am the only music person. Hold on one second. I'm so sorry. I just have to check one thing on my phone. I feel so bad right now.
Don't feel bad.
No, it's all good. How they're different is, yeah, I mean, DDB is an agency that's been around for a while. They're kind of a little bit more established. They have clients that they've had for decades. They've had Jeep forever. They've had State Farm forever. It's a little bit of an older environment. It's a little bit more traditional in terms of what they do. For sure. And then Unlimited is very much like startup culture. It's like everything is brand new. Everyone is brand new. The agency itself is only about a year and a half old. And it's really kind of unique in that, it's a boutique agency. It's only designed for one client. But that client happens to be like the third largest brand in the world.
Right.
So it's like,
enough
right.
for a whole company to surround it.
Yeah, no, it's literally right. So it's like, it's very much like a startup mentality for like an enormous kind of vibe. So it really kind of is both in a sense.
So you're working on a lot of things all at once then, and you're the only music person doing it all?
Yes. Yeah, it's all run through me actually.
Would you say that you see some different trends coming up these days versus, maybe like a year or two ago? Like, what are the trends you see?
I mean, let's see.
It's okay if you don't. I mean, sometimes I feel like, well, I'll let you answer.
Yeah, I mean, trends wise, it really kind of depends. I'm starting to see a little bit more hip hop than I had seen in a long time, which makes me thrilled as a hip hop head. For so long, I had noticed like hip hop was really, most brands didn't really know what to do with it in a sense. It was mostly used for like kind of like lame white guy comedy in a sense, which was just like which was just like a ridiculous way to use an art form that's like every bit as valid as any other type of art form. And so I'm thrilled to hear more of that. It's been a minute since like all ads were very clearly being defined by one reference.
Right.
What I mean by that is like there was like a golden age of ads where like everything sounded like the Black Keys. And then there was another age of ads where everything sounded like Mumford and Sons. And then there was another age of ads where like everything sounded like Jonesy from Sigur Rós. And those are like very kind of distinct periods of time. Ads are generally like 6 months behind trends in a sense. So like I'm not surprised that like trap drums are in a lot of stuff right now, which I think is great. And for the most part, it's being done well. Yeah, I mean, I'm noticing less happy-go-lucky stuff that's really kind of on the nose of like, we want you to feel good.
Yeah.
And it's much more about authenticity. It's much more about like what people would legitimately be listening to. I think that brands have really come a long way in realizing, the equity in having something that people would listen to in their everyday lives. And, being the first ones to like launch a track or a new sound or whatever it is. I think more than ever, brands are really kind of understanding that. And then, another trend that I think kind of echoes larger society right now is like, there's a huge love for like true kind of like dusty gems right now. I think that kind of goes hand in hand with like the vinyl resurgence and things like that. People just want kind of a little bit more tangibility. to what they're listening to more than ever before, I'm noticing now. So I love seeing brands that like really like dig into the vaults.
Yeah.
Like, there was a huge Oreo spot not too long ago that used this amazing song called You and Me from Penny and the Quarters. That's like probably from like the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like Oreo's like most famous commercial in like a decade. It's like winning a crazy amount of awards. And yeah, I think that that's just like tapping into something that people love right now. Something that doesn't necessarily sound super squeaky clean and polished, has a little dirt to it, and just like, has more personality, honestly.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's like as a culture, I think we're craving authenticity, and you can see how it's showing up even in the ad world.
Yeah. The one word I hear a lot from like creative directors is like, we want something that shows intent, like clear artistic intent in terms of like why we chose it and like why the artist took the time to create it. That's what we want to make. So that's something that I've actually in the last couple of months been thinking much more about. It's like, what's the artistic intent kind of behind a track, and how do we really like leverage that in a way?
That's beautiful. I really love that. I feel like as artists, we go into writing songs with this artistic intent, and sometimes we don't. We're just like, I'm going to write a song about this, and then those never hit the mark because they didn't come from this place. And that's an interesting way of actually saying it. Like, what's your intent behind it, and how that translates. That's such a gem.
Yeah, no, for sure. A human truth comes true. It just comes through.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that you'll hear a lot of supervisors say is like, we don't want anything that sounds too addy, which is kind of counterintuitive, but it's just like, I think it's just, there is this push for authenticity. There is this push for something that has a truth behind it. And it's like, as a music supervisor, if I hear something that was like very clearly created with the intent of just like getting synced, I don't know if I can sniff that out. There's a chance that everyday people can too. And for brands more than ever, the thing that they, I'm sure, would all say is like, we want to feel like we're an authentic brand. We want to feel like we're a brand for everyone. The music has to reflect that as well.
Right.
So it's kind of a tricky balance because obviously you are all here because, you want your music to be synced. And I think that's, it's a tricky thing to like make a music with the hope of it, but also have it be true to you in a sense. But
would you say that there are some specific things that tend to work, that to keep in mind while you're writing your authentic song that work for sync?
Yeah, I mean, I think more than ever, production quality is more important than it's ever been. I think one of the greatest things about where we're at right now in terms of music and ads is that, it's an industry that's opened itself up to like some of the most heavy hitters in like the actual music community. You have like really, really legitimate artists and really legitimate producers and composers who are now, having their work commissioned for or like writing original stuff for ads. So their production is kind of setting the tone and setting the bar for like what everybody else is going to do.
Right.
So that's really kind of the first kind of hurdle. It's like at this point, if something doesn't have like pretty top-notch production, it's going to be more difficult for me, because that's just kind of the level playing field that most people are used to hearing at this point. So that's kind of the first hurdle right off the bat is like, how does it sound? Does the recording sound good? Is the production tight? Is it mixed? All those sorts of things are always kind of huge. But then other things, ads are different. Ads are different than film and TV in the sense that like film and TV are much more like story, human, kind of drama driven. And not to say that there isn't story or drama in ads, but at the end of the day, an ad is meant to sell something. It's meant to, meant to sell a brand, meant to sell a product, whatever it is. And so 9 times out of 10, the brand wants you to feel good about the thing that they're selling. And the music is the biggest, by far, indicator for how you're going to feel when, sitting down and watching an ad. Everything you're seeing is only going to do so much, but what you're hearing is going to get to the heart of you so much more. So the majority of music and ads is leaning positive. There's so much kind of sad, kind of meditative singer-songwriter stuff that I love personally. But I just know like it's going to really take a very specific project for it to work, sort of thing. So,
that's fantastic. Like, you just run with. That's great. I mean, number one, if the quality, the students submit to us all the time and we try to sign some of the songs here and there, but number one, quality of the production, we can't stress that enough because we can't put a song like that. You can't place a song like that. That's just, number one thing to lead with. And then to hit those other markers along the way while staying authentic is so good.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Spelling it out for us and taking the time, because I feel like these are, it's not a secret, but it kind of feels like secrets you're telling us. These are the things that like take a long time to figure out, and you're like telling us this is what it is.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. Also, I want to be respectful of your time. We have 5 songs at the end to listen to, and we have a couple of questions here from people, and then we'll just pop into the songs. Is that something?
Okay. Yeah, and I am under no real crazy time constraints, so no worries there.
Okay. Alex says, "Hi, Alec. In an interview you did with Kathy in 2016, you said you're less inclined to put a song on a commercial if you're unable to find that musician band on the internet. Do you mean we need to have release music or simply a presence?"
I would say just some sort of presence is huge. It's that's a tricky thing in that there's so much beauty and there's so much more legwork to be done in this kind of era of music, with kind of, the rise of like everybody being able to do it all on their own. I think it's the most exciting time in the world to be a musician, frankly. But it also just means that there are so much other things that you have to do in order to like really be a musician. Things that like just like weren't really thought of ever before, or like were, done by other people, done by management, done by agents, done by a label, done by publisher. So often that falls on the shoulders of the artists now. So, I totally understand that, being an artist in this day and age requires you in so many cases to also, in addition to being the one who's like writing and recording music, to like also like manage a social media account and everything that goes with that, and like often like booking your own tour and, whatever it is, there's so much that goes into it. But, for me, it's knowing how agencies work, knowing how clients are, how many millions or billions or whatever dollars, are often behind these huge conglomerates, how much goes into a commercial, all those sorts of things. There's just kind of a blanket level of security that I think comes from being able to find something about the artist online. Even if it's a Facebook page that only has a couple hundred followers, like, to me, that means that, and a couple pictures, like, to me, that means so much more about the validity of an artist than like, I just went through 10 pages on Google and could not find a single mention, nothing about them, nothing's on Spotify, nothing's on any streaming platforms. Like, I don't know who this person is. I know nothing about them. It just, that inherently becomes a little bit more difficult for me to sell in. you know, versus like, even if a Facebook page or an Instagram, whatever, doesn't have a lot of attention or a lot of followers or likes or whatever, you know, part of my job is to spin that, to be like, hey guys, guess what? We're getting in with this band on like the ground floor. We're getting them super early. You know, I can spin that shit. That's not a problem. But you know, for me, that I need at least a little bit of ammunition to sell something. So even that goes a long way. So that's a great question. I think if you're an artist really in any capacity, setting up some sort of kind of level-based exposure online, you know, and on streaming platforms and things like that, I think that goes a long way.
That's fantastic explanation for it too, because we've had people come in that have said something, but they haven't given us like the why. And that really makes a lot of sense. So thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
A ton of questions. I'm just going to pick a few here. Let's see. Sam says, Alec, hey, Sam here, question for you. I'm at the point that I have some work I feel is top-notch production and quality songwriting. Been told it stands out. Wondering a producer like myself with a growing body of work, do you ever work with an individual that is not connected to a licensing company or boutique sync company? Is my next best move if I'm not, what is my next best move if I'm not getting my stuff looked at?
So that is, I've talked with a few people about this because a lot of artists ask me the question of like, hey, I'm making all this music. Should I sign with a label or should I remain independent? It's a very kind of similar thing where it's like, to use that analogy, it's like, yo, if you're able to stay independent and, you know, you're able to make a connection with somebody and they're able to get your music in something, you know, wow, what an accomplishment, what an achievement. You know, that means total creative freedom for you. That means the total fee goes to you, all those sorts of things. There's a huge upside in that. On the flip side, there's such a better chance that your music is going to land on the desk of somebody who can put it in something if it is brought through some sort of, you know, well-established gatekeeper in a sense. So, you know, there's pros and cons for both, and that really also very much applies to what you're asking. You know, it's I know the initial question was like, do I ever work with individuals who are not, you know, associated with licensing companies or things like that? The answer is yes, I definitely do. But I think that the main thing is like, how do I know that these people exist? You know, there's only so much capacity that I have to like go out and find completely unsigned, completely, you know, untethered artists and composers. The majority of you know, new music and everything kind of has to come to me just in terms of my own bandwidth. And so there really kind of has to be some sort of connection there, I think. You know, hey, I'm so-and-so. I am, you know, a friend of a friend, you know, that in some way will connect with you. Here's my music. Do you want to check it out? You know, all those sorts of things, like, you know, for the amount of music that supervisors like myself are exposed to every day and that we have to listen to for our job. And then you add on to the stuff, because we're human beings, that we just like genuinely want to listen to. It becomes very, very easy for someone to get lost in the shuffle. And it's just kind of it's an unfortunate kind of fact of life, but there's only so much bandwidth that we all have to be exposed to things. And so, you know, there are certain gatekeepers. There's certain people that I know, whether they are, they're in the music industry or I know them personally and I trust their taste. There's certain things that are sent to me that it's like, all right, I have to put everything aside and I need to listen to this because I trust this person. And there's so much to that. And yeah, it's hard for me to say that I would necessarily be able to really jump on something from somebody that I've never heard of and have no connection to. So that's kind of how I would maybe answer that question. I absolutely work quite often with mostly like independent bands who aren't signed. I've worked a handful of times with independent composers. But really, all of those situations have arisen from some sort of connection. If it was a band that I saw at a show and was like, oh man, I got to pitch them. They're great. Oh, they're not signed. Easy. I'm just going to get their contact info and work with them. Or it's, some kid who, is a great composer and like just, makes all their music on their laptop and isn't associated with anybody. But, we have a mutual friend that set us up together. And that was, what gave me that first connection to really listen to them for the first time, be like, oh, this is badass. I should use this more. So kind of hard to say, but, any way to link on to something that has more of a connection to a supervisor, whether it is through a licensing company or a third-party rep, or if you're able to just find a friend of a friend of a friend that is linked in any way with supervisors, I would utilize all of that, because I think that that's just going to make it, again, just kind of more legitimate in our eyes. And honestly, just something that in the sea of music that we're getting every day, something that we're just going to be inherently more excited to listen to and to devote our time to.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. That's great. You can apply that to everything in life. It's not just about music, and we all have this limited bandwidth, and life is going by so fast, and it makes sense what you say. So, we also often say, like, remember these people on the other side of the screen that you're writing to are human beings just like us. So, like, how would you want to get an email, or how would you want to be, interacting with somebody? And to remember that, like, you're very busy and have a lot of things going on. It's not personal.
Yeah, for sure. And then last thing, I'll make this quick. Agencies, especially with the rise of like copyright infringement suits and things like that, everyone's kind of like on really high alert right now in terms of like where music comes from and is it clear, and all those sorts of things. It's an easier sell for me to be like, hey, this music's great, and to be like, it came from a reputable source, is an easier pill for people to swallow, generally speaking, than just like, hey, it's from this composer that did this in their bedroom. It's just going to make everybody feel a little bit more at ease of like, all right, these people, they know what they're doing. They've been doing this for years. They know the call outs, they know all this stuff. It's been properly screened, all those sorts of things. There's just an inherent risk of working with somebody who isn't necessarily tethered to one of those things. Just in the off chance that it's, by no fault of anybody's own, the thing that you composed accidentally has the same bass line as Uptown Funk, and it's like, then that leads to a thing, and it's like, you're an independent composer. How is this going to get sorted out? Sort of stuff. So that's, I don't know how pertinent that is to your question, but it is just a thing that is definitely thought of a lot in terms of agencies. It's just like, who is the vendor? Are they reputable? Do they have like the insurance requirements that we need? Or like, there's just certain things that come with a company like that I think just make it a little bit easier for people to swallow and want to collaborate with.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point when you're trying to weigh, the options there. Okay, Lindsay says, hi, Alec. Thanks for sharing here today. My question is, when a new music search goes out from DDB to all the music sources on your list that you send briefs to, have you ever been pitched the same song from multiple sources? If so, how do you handle that? And if a song is good, will it be shortlisted to send to the client for their consideration?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't happen a ton. Doesn't happen very often. There are a couple songs that are owned by, or that are represented by more than one source. And honestly, I was actually literally having this conversation the other day with another supervisor, where like he had, for whatever reason, he had two MP3s of the same song, and it's moving forward, and like both of them have different metadata on them. One is from this source and one is from this other source. And his question is like, shit, who do I give this to? Like, they both have this. I don't remember exactly like where I found it, who I got it from, all those sorts of things. But like, you know, it is the sort of thing where metadata is so hugely important, because so often, you know, I'll get a search, you know, none of the tracks might work for this project, but I have it on my computer. Months and months go by. I get another search that's for something similar. You know, I pitched this track that again was sent to me like six months ago. Everybody loves it. And I go and check the metadata and it's like, it's blank. And I'm just like, okay, where did this come from? Who sent this to me? And then all of a sudden it's like, if I'm not able to find who the source of this was, then we're out of luck, you know? And it's just like, oh, I guess we can't use this track for like the very silly reason that I don't know who sent this to me. I don't know who we would license this from. You know, so like, I think that that's just kind of like, and I've had that happen before. There's literally been absolutely more than one instance of I have a track in my library and it's just like, it's perfect. And that there are so many things I want to pitch it for, but I don't have the first godly idea of where it's from, and I can't find it anywhere online. And so it just sits in my library because I'm afraid to pitch it, because I know that somebody's going to love it and they're going to ask where it's from, and I'm not going to be able to give them an answer. And if we can't properly license a track, we're not going to use it.
Yeah.
So I think that that's kind of the more important aspect of it, is just like, you know, even if a track is sent to me by two different sources, I'm less concerned with where it comes from and more just that I know who it came from and that I know how to contact them, and all those sorts of things. That's by far, in my world, the larger issue. And yeah, if it's sent to me from two different sources, I don't know, it could be that there's a co-writer on it and, you know, the song itself is wrapped by two different publishers, in which case that's totally fine. They'll both get a part of the deal. You know, if not, I just have to, you know, if it really is just like one song and it is just wrapped for whatever reason by two different entities, you know, it may honestly just come down to like, which of the two do I have a better relationship with? Who do I trust more to like get a deal done quickly and fairly, and those sorts of things, which is like a super, you know, subjective way to do it, but oftentimes that's probably the best way. But yes, metadata. I need to be able to know.
So important. We also get that. Like, there's no name. We need metadata too. I mean, it's like
it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Because, you know, it's like, especially if I'm moving at 100 miles an hour, which we usually are, it seems very simple, you know, for me to just, you know, if I don't see metadata there, to just like know where it came from and slot it in really quickly. But like, if I just like need to do it, I might think like, oh, I'll just do it later. I know where it came from. And then, you know, 5 days go by and it's like, oh, damn it, I don't remember. I'm like trying to figure it out. And like, you know, generally speaking, it can be figured out. There's not a whole lot of instances where it's just like, this is impossible. Because the internet and email are very good at detecting things like that.
Yeah.
But still, just make your life easier. It's such an important tool, and it's just an easy thing to do. And the effects of not having it in there are so enormous that it's just not worth messing around with it.
Right. I mean, opportunities lost there are massive. Yeah. Okay, so we have more questions and songs. So I want to get to the songs. I'm going to have Victoria, who is our director of music at Catch the Moon, share the songs with you, and go back and forth because hear my baby crying, and the babysitter is here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run into the other room and have her do that. So,
what's the best way for me to share those songs? Just through here on Zoom?
Yeah, I'm just going to you just share the link.
Okay.
And so, Alec, you can just listen to it on your end, and then you don't have to, we didn't get a chance to talk about this before, but you don't have to listen to the whole song. It's just kind of like the first verse and chorus, and give your feedback on, is this licensable or not, and why. And we really, like, your most honest feedback is so appreciated from us.
Of course. Perfect.
Okay, good. So don't be afraid to be honest. Here's the first one from Bev. I'm going to let Victoria take it over. I'm sorry that I'm going to rush off. I had my babysitter here till, this hour. So I'm going to let you guys carry it out.
Thank you.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. Hi, Alec. I'm Victoria.
How are you? Good to see you.
I'm good. You too. Okay, great. So this first song that Sana just posted the link for is Voyage of the Matthew by Bev Niven. Can you see the link in the chat?
Here, let me go.
Can I just say one thing? Sorry.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alec. Hi, Bev. Nice to meet you. Can you fast forward it to 138? Is that allowable?
Yeah, for sure. Hold on one sec. Here, I gotta pull it up. Where'd it go? Okay, Voyage of the Matthew instrumental.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, where am I fast forwarding to?
138.
138.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Here, I guess I'll just keep it on. I don't know if you want me to mute it, but I'll just listen to it now, I guess. Cool. Cool. Yeah, that's definitely an instrumental palette that I don't hear very often. But like clearly the playing is very strong. Whoever is playing the violin is clearly very talented. No, it's cool. It's very sweeping. It's very big sounding. The production was very nice.
Right.
I think that it's the sort of thing where, in terms of just like the instrument palette, I honestly, I don't hear very much in ads, a ton. Just like, kind of the big revved up guitars and all those sorts of, stringed elements. No, I mean, it's clearly a well-crafted song. The production was good. The level of playing is obviously very strong. I'm very intrigued if there would be anything that I'd be able to use it for.
Thank you. Yeah. I was on your website, your own personal website, and also on your business one. And so I listened to a lot of Jeep ads, and some of them are that rugged, the Wrangler ones. And I thought, I could just see it in a Jeep ad. Am I way off here?
No, you're not. I mean, Jeep has been an awesome client they are hugely music savvy people, and they really like to push it musically as much as possible. I'd say the vast majority of what they do, they like to use like like legitimate, artists that you would have, you'd see touring and all those sorts of things. And their big thing is like they love to take artists that like have a ton of kind of underground momentum and be the ones to really like push them into like mainstream top 40 kind of vibe. Pretty much everything I've done for them has kind of been in that realm of things. But yeah, sonically, just in terms of kind of the grand sweeping nature of it, you're totally on the money there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I was gonna say if I could hear it in anything, it would be a car ad for sure.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question about your own music. It's fantastic. And you have a song called The Blue Dress.
Yes.
And I love hearing voices all through the song. Is that something? And is it syncable? I think it's fabulous.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It's my grandparents' story.
I love it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Nice. Oh my
Thank
gosh.
you. That means a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks. Beautiful. Thank you.
Of course.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing, Bev. That was great. I love like all the was that you playing or who was playing?
No, it's a guy here. He's quite a well-known fiddler here named Colin Grant.
Awesome.
And the production, though, was done by Jamie Folds, who lives here, who took Kathy's class last year.
Awesome. Wow.
Yeah, nice.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Okay,
Thank
cool.
you.
Of course. All right. Next one is Gimme More by Nancy and Zion. We actually signed this song a couple months ago. I love it. I just posted it in the chat.
Okay. Okay, cool. I like the artwork. Alrighty. Should I just hit play from the top, or is there a certain section?
Let's see. Oh, he noted start at 48 seconds.
Okay, cool.
Give me your attention. Give me your attention. A little sexy, a little hot. I know you're watching me. Don't even dare to say I'm not. I know you're watching me. Not a lie, you take it right. I know you're watching me. So if you get it, think twice. I know you're watching me. Oh, 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 oh. Your eyes burning up now. Oh, oh, oh. I'm only getting started. Give me more, give me more. Give me more, give me your attention. Give me more, give me more. Give me more, give me your attention. Give me more, give me more. Give me more, give me your attention. Give me more, give me more. Give me more, give me your attention.
Badass.
Yeah, love that song.
It's awesome. That hit so many different markers of what I know so many people are looking for.
Yeah.
It's catchy as hell. It's quirky, but in like a really cool way. It's dripping in swagger. It's got a ton of confidence. And like wonky horns, man. Wonky horns. People
Yes.
are loving wonky horns.
Funk sound. I swear it's coming back.
Yeah, hugely. I mean, like once like Macklemore really kind of brought it back with Thrift Shop, like since then, so many major pop hits have had that kind of vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
And as I mentioned, like ads are always a little behind trends.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it, let's see. There was that big Spencer Ludwig track in Target, I think it was. The song was called Diggity.
Yes, yeah.
Huge horn kind of line there. And then even like probably my favorite like ad campaign from like the last year, Google Pixel. They had this like Subway musician trio called Too Many Zoos.
Mm-hmm.
In like their big in their new, like, I think it was like the Pixel 2, their phone. It was like their big kind of campaign song. And it's super wonky horn kind of vibe. I hear that all the time. I don't think it's going anywhere else. I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like lyrically, vocally, everything super, just like fun and quirky and unique. Like,
Yay!
aces.
Awesome. Oh, there he is. There's Zion.
Hey, man.
there-
You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Good to meet you, Alec. Thank you so much for doing this. Yeah, this was written by me and Celia Rose. She's also in the group right now.
Okay, cool.
We actually, I think we started it as like a holiday song, and it didn't go that way. And we just took it a different direction, and it kind of became this empowerment song. And yeah, just really excited about it. And thank you for taking the time to listen to it.
Of course. No, I'm glad that's the direction it went. I'm glad it wasn't a holiday song. But no, that was great. Honestly, like, I don't know if the song is like, if it's totally in the can, if it's totally different. And I don't know if it, where it goes like near the end. I don't know if there's like a big chorus anywhere.
Just kind of a breakdown, kind of a gang vocal breakdown.
Cool. Nice. Okay, sweet. Yeah, some dynamics I think is great to kind of edit with. So yeah, as long as there's something, whether it gets bigger or it gets, you know, a little bit more stripped down at some point, I think is great. Yeah, I think the gang vocal is very kind of has great intention behind it. So nicely done.
Awesome. Great job, Zion. All right, let's see. Next one we have is Fire by Alex Helton. Just posted it.
Cool. Come on. It says Safari can't open the page.
Huh. Let's see.
Let me try it again. Huh. I have no idea why.
Let's see. Alex, are you on the call by any chance?
I am. Let me see if I can check to see if something's dumb.
Okay.
Give me.
I can see it on my page.
Okay,
Let me post the link again. Maybe.
Can I could invite a collaborator. Should I put his email into the folder that it is? Maybe. I don't know.
That's it.
Do you have? Does it say share somewhere? Can you get the share link?
Let's do this. I'm in the. I mean, I'm going to share the folder that it's in now.
Okay.
I'm putting the link in there, and the song Fire's in there. And I know I sent it to some people in the course, and I know they've listened to it, so that link should work.
Why is this not? This sucks. Come on. Oh, I'm gonna get this. Don't you worry about it.
I believe in you.
Right. Okay. Oh my god. I don't know why this isn't working. This sucks.
I can try and play it over my end. I don't know if you'll be able to really hear it though, and the production and all of that.
Right. Ah, man, what the fuck? Weird. Yeah, I mean, I'm even just like clicking it and copying pasting it. Neither is working for me for some reason.
Maybe another browser. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I just tried it in 2.
It makes me so
Aw,
sad.
man. No, man, I gotta do this.
Someone just said, Victoria, you can share your sound. How do I do that?
Yeah, for some reason, it's saying like the owner of app.box.com has configured their website improperly. The connection is not secure. No clue. I've never seen this before.
Here, let me go to the next one, and while we do that, Alex.
I'll go in Dropbox.
Oh, Dropbox. Okay, I was gonna say
Cool.
I can download it to our Disco and do that, but you want to do Dropbox?
I'll try Dropbox, and then you can also do Disco, and then we can, yeah, it'll be fun.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I'll just go to the next one, and we'll figure that out. We'll get your song heard though.
Gert, yeah, I'm not leaving without hearing this song.
Okay. This next one is The Greatest Life by Barry Rose. Let's see. All right.
Okay. All right, what? Oh my god, what is
It's
going
not
on?
working?
No, I don't know if. might just be that now the internet is working here.
Here,
I'm so sorry, you guys.
no, it's okay.
You know what? Having a normal day job, it might be that like their IT noticed that you're on their Wi-Fi. Are you on?
I am. It
You
probably
might wanna,
is.
if you have a cell phone, maybe switch to my brain's not working, but the hotspot, if that works for you, because they might have just seen that you are doing it weird activity and they're blocking you.
I bet you that's what it is.
Here, try this link here. This is the next song on the list, and I'll just download the songs that we can't hear to our disco and see if we can get our disco link to work. Does that work? Okay, cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the first two songs worked.
That's so bizarre.
Yeah, this one's not working either. They must have said, I don't know what you're doing over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a privacy thing.
Gotcha. No worries. Thank you for trying. Let's see what we can try and do. Let's go. Let's see if I can download these really quickly and just see if that works.
Or if you could download them and email them to me.
Oh yeah, that works too. And just have the MP3 attachment.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. All right, awesome. Yeah, that works.
Also, Victoria,
Yeah.
as an option on the on that screen that has everybody on it, there's that microphone symbol, that arrow that points up. You can change it to same as system, and it should send whatever you're playing on your computer to everyone unfiltered.
Wait, where's the microphone?
Bottom left where it says mute, where you can mute yourself.
Oh yeah, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so that arrow, if you click it, you can choose same as system, and I believe it'll make it so that you can your microphone will just be your system playing music to everyone.
Got it. Okay, let's try that. Should we try that?
Perfect.
Okay. Let's do fire.
I've never turned down a fight. You've been working, but ain't no might. You'll never take me alive. Na 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 na. Anger, little danger, it's getting stranger. Yeah, welcome to the major. Anger, a little danger, it gets stranger. Yeah, welcome to the major. I ain't afraid of you.
It's kind of cutting in and out now. If there's a way to download it and just email them to me.
All right, yeah, let me do that right now.
But that was fucking awesome, and that was perfectly up Miller Lite's alley. So I'm definitely gonna be able to push that. That was great. Woo!
That's awesome! Amazing. Okay.
I just want to be able to hear it more higher quality. It sounded great.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you guys for hanging in there with me through all this.
And thank you so much for being here and for doing this. I know all of our students really appreciate it.
Of course.
Okay, it says it's too large. Okay, I might have to.
I'll send you an MP3 link, Victoria.
Okay.
Okay. Brutal. Brutal. Yes, I'm sure it's because I'm on the internet. In the meantime, I can answer a question in the meantime.
Oh, yes. I saw a good question earlier. Someone asked, how do you find the reference tracks for your searches?
That is, that's a good question. Sometimes they come through from me. Quite often they'll actually come from hold on. I'm hearing myself. Somebody, I think.
Here, let me.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, it'll sometimes come from me. A lot of times it'll come from like creatives, who, you know, when they're writing a spot or something, they'll kind of have an idea of music already in their heads of like kind of where they want it to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the tough thing. When you have like a wide open concept, sometimes a very kind of specific song or style comes to mind. A lot of times it's just like, who knows? It could be electro swing. It could be a straight up folk song. You know, there's so many different ways to go.
Yeah.
And so I think it's, just, I work with different teams, and it's a lot of just like questions of like, you know, a lot of times I'll start just internally sending a very, very wide batch of music to like different teams to just be like, hey, hopefully this at least cools it down a little bit. I'm not expecting to find like the perfect track in here just yet, but hopefully it at least kind of dictates of like, oh, we hated these, even though we thought this was the way we wanted to go.
Yeah.
Would have never thought this angle, but it's actually kind of sweet. Can we get more like this? So yeah, I that's the way I kind of prefer. It's just kind of like scouring the earth and sending everything, like as many different vibes as possible, which is a great way to just kind of little by little whittle it down.
Yeah, like process of elimination.
Exactly. Until eventually we're left with like, and it's that sort of thing where, you know, a lot of times, more often than not, you'll end up with something so different from what anyone imagined that we would be going with.
Yeah, I've seen that happen before. Like, we'll get a reference or something, and then the song that they end up liking is really nothing like the reference, or you'll end up seeing the commercial later and it was nothing like the brief, but that's just, you know, how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I worked on this really amazing project for McDonald's not too long ago for International Women's Day, where it was all over the news. They took one of their stores in California, and they took the giant M outside of the restaurant. They flipped it upside down to a W for International Women's Day, which was super great. And
Awesome.
I worked on a commercial kind of surrounding that. And it was the sort of thing where like we've been working on it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we were fairly convinced that this was going to be a somewhat traditional kind of emotional spot. But then they ended up shooting something that was just like dripping in swagger. And it was just like way too cool for all of the like really kind of thoughtful, contemplative music that I had been pulling for weeks. And so like we needed to pivot at the last minute to find something that really kind of fit that swagger angle of what was shot. So yeah, it's like very rarely do you know until you're at that finish line and you're either like, all right, my intuition was totally correct, or like we could not be further away. We need to pivot.
Yeah. And how long does, is the process usually from when you send a search to, when you figure out what the final song is and it goes through all the approvals and, you guys are all on the same page of what song you're going to license?
It kind of depends on the project. Like the client meeting that I was just in here in McDonald's, like this is a project that I've been searching on for about probably 2 months. And it's not even shooting for another couple weeks and probably won't be airing until like September.
Wow.
So this was like a very drawn out, very long one where it's like, let's explore as many possible angles as possible. let's really do this right. Let's bring Alec in immediately so that he can start, cranking on this from the inception point.
Mm-hmm.
So there are those projects, and then there are other ones where it's like, hey, this is something that we just shot. Sorry, nobody thought of music, and it's going out the door tomorrow. We need some stuff. The majority of my job is that. This is
quick turnarounds.
The suit, yeah. I mean, the majority of my day to day is, it's within a week of like, I'm briefed on the project, the track is selected, track needs to get licensed, which is crazy, but it's just kind of the way that it is. I would say that's the majority of how things go. So, it's definitely why it's super important just for like me to be able to like reach out to somebody like you and just be like, hey, I need this immediately. I know we can work together. We've done so in the past. You're super reputable. I know you have a huge roster of artists. What can you sling my way in the next 4 hours, sort of?
Yeah. That's awesome. That's great. And I think it just, it's good for the students to know that they just have to have those songs ready, because when you get those searches, you don't have, a quick turnaround time. A lot of the times, we have to send those songs back that very same day. So just having a big catalog of songs ready to go, because when those searches come in, you oftentimes don't have time to go back and edit and, finish things up.
Exactly. Yeah. Having like, having like a mixed and mastered instrumental in addition to your lyrical version and stuff, like just having all that ready to go. It's a bummer when it's like, oh man, this is so great. Do you have an instrumental? And it's like, no, but we can make one. Do you have 4 days? And it's like, no, sorry, we're gonna have to move on. Or whatever it is, it's like, being ready is huge. Because you feel it when you're not ready.
Yes, for sure. So I just sent you an email. It went through for Alex's song Fire, and then I'll get
nice.
Ready too.
Okay, cool. Here, I'm going to listen to that really quick.
Okay, cool.
I've never turned down a fight. You've been mocking, but ain't no mind.
What happened?
It's getting stranger. Yeah, welcome to the majors. Anger, a little danger. It gets stranger. Yeah, welcome to the majors. I ain't afraid of your fire. Fire, fire. Bring it back to the gasoline. Fire, fire, fire. You can let it burn everything.
Awesome. I was like so exactly up Miller's lane. They are huge into the like, call them swagger bombs. Just like all that stuff, the stomper beats, the boom, 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 whatever, like all that stuff, huge, just kind of like groove focused rock. That's Miller Lite's wheelhouse. So I will be pitching that. Sweet.
Awesome.
Woo! Awesome. Go,
Thank
Alex.
you.
Great job.
Bro.
That was great. Okay, so the next one on the list of The Greatest Life by Barry Rose. I can't send that in an email because I don't have the MP3. So if you're on the call, can you send me an MP3 link? But I'll also try and upload it to Disco. It's taking kind of a minute right now, but if I can get that up, I'll send it. And then the last one on the list, Mark with Make My Heart Go Boom. There isn't a download link in your box link, so I can't download it and send it. If you're on the call, let me know. But this is great. Thank you for your feedback. This is wonderful. And Alex, that's awesome. That song has so much attitude and swagger. That's awesome. When did you write that? Was that recent?
I'll come back on. Yes. So at some point I had told one of my favorite co-writers, I think Zayd Wolf has a new song out, and he came up with my co-writer came up with that guitar riff that's in the chorus, and we just started like screaming fire over it, and then the song just
That's awesome.
Love it.
Okay, well, while this track is uploading to Disco, if anyone else has any questions that they want Alex to answer, I'll scroll up and see if there were any that we missed. But just post them in the chat. I'm watching. Let's see. Nathan asked, is there a specific metadata field where you should put, or where you would prefer to find the contact info, subtitle, comments, or other?
No, doesn't matter. As long as I can hit track info on iTunes and see something, that doesn't really matter.
Cool. Okay, I think try this disco playlist, and if it doesn't work, I can send it in an email, but I can't do an MP3 for that one because it's uploaded as a WAV file.
Okay, cool. Let me check this. Come on. Yeah, there we go. Sweet.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay.
Okay, cool. Should I skip or just play from the top?
I don't see any notes, but you can just kind of skip through it to get an idea, or however you want to do it.
Okay, cool. All right, here we go.
Everything is wonderful, 'cause now I'm in the flow. Everything is working out so perfectly, 'cause I started a brand new life, filled with love and joy. Every day I'm grateful, 'cause I wanna win, and it's my choice to be the best I can be the best I can be. Radiate the light, 'cause I wanna live the greatest life. Oh, 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 I wanna live the greatest life. Oh, 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 I wanna live the greatest life. Sometimes things don't always go exactly as I planned. If it knocks me down, I'll find the strength to rise again. 'Cause I've got a brand new outlook, filled with love and joy.
Cool.
Every day I'm grateful 'cause
Nice. I mean, that's just like such a super sweet song. It's like that's really, really, really just a very beautiful, sweet kind of sentiment song.
Yeah.
It would take a very kind of specific project, just because it's a little bit more of a specific kind of lyric.
Mm-hmm.
I could certainly see it working for like I don't know, like a Pampers or something like that, where like sweetness is kind of ingrained in their DNA. So yeah, I mean, it's really, really nice. I think that chorus for sure is really great. It reminds me a lot of there was more ad music like this, I would say probably even like 5, 6, 7 years ago than truthfully that there is right now.
Yeah.
I think just because, like, as I kind of mentioned, for better or for worse, there's not a whole lot of songs that sound really like that, with that just kind of like really sweet earnestness, just in terms of like what people generally listen to.
That's true.
So yeah, like I think a few years ago that would have probably much easier found a home than it necessarily would today, just to be like totally completely honest. But I think for the right thing, somebody would hear that and be like, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah. It had a super sweet melody, but I feel like it's going like less away from sweet and more to cool, a little bit of alternative, and
it just honestly is. So is this right? Like very much like the last track, Fire, like that's very much kind of the sound of what a lot of brands are doing right now, more than this in a way. So probably a little less like overtly and generally palatable, where I could like see it working for a lot of things. It's more the sort of thing where it's like, you know, it sounds like it would be perfect for like a very specific thing. Where again, if somebody is looking for that kind of thing and they were to hear that track, they'd be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that this exists and that this is everything I'm looking for."
Yeah.
So yeah, probably a little bit trickier to find that specific avenue, but no, it's beautiful, totally beautiful.
I'm not sure if Barry is on the call, but great job, Barry. It's super beautiful. Just have to find the right home for it. How are you doing on time? I know we've kind of been here a while. There's one more song, but how are you doing on time? I
probably got another 10 minutes.
Okay, great. Okay, let's just get this one song. Actually, I can't even download it. But I can try and just play it over my speaker like I did before and see if that works for this last one.
Okay, cool.
Okay, awesome. Let's do it.
Love the way it moves, love the way it grows. Ain't nothing close to you. Make my heart go boom, boom. Got everything. Saying you got me thinking. Make my heart go boom, boom.
Yeah, that's right. Come on.
My heart go boom, boom. My heart go.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I'm definitely going to need to hear that with better quality.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that from here sounded very much in the lane of what's being synced right now. Very much. Just like very confident, very intentional, cool, quirky, left of center. It hit all of the, but like catchy as hell.
Yeah.
Groovy bass lines are like horn womps making a huge comeback in terms of ads and also just in terms of like popular music. Like when Justin Timberlake's "Can't Stop the Feeling" came out and it was like that bass line. It was like, all right, so this is gonna be the next wave. It's gonna be like the funky, very high up in the mix bass is like gonna be the next wave. And then like a year and a half later, like Shawn Mendes Lost in Japan. And like, it's just like, all right, cool. We're riding this disco bass train. I'm feeling it. Sweet.
Yeah, I've seen so many references for like in searches just for like groovy or funky or like 70s kind of feeling. Like so many. Yeah.
That's very much something that's hot right now. But like, totally. Yeah. Just, it's like taking that mentality but putting it through a modern filter. Apple is doing a ton of that right now with Sophie Tucker they had them licensed in a couple of things that they had done, things like that. Did some of that for Samsung when I was at Burnett. I could see that very easily working for McDonald's or for like a Wendy's or whatever it is. Just like, I call that like cool kid shit. So yeah, that was great. I definitely want to hear that with higher quality because that sounded like it had all the ingredients of something that would work.
Awesome. Well, great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And all the students appreciate it so much. You're getting so many accolades in the comment section. They're like, you're our #1 best guest ever.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your night. And thank you just for coming in and speaking to us. Your insight is so valuable. Talk soon.
All right. I appreciate it. I'm going to get out of this conference room now.
Okay. All right. You do that. All right. Bye, Alec.
All right. Take care, guys. Appreciate it.
Bye.